Welcome to Meek Planet. Thank you for landing. In this video, we're going to show you how to manage your ego, superego, and it for a positive life outcome. Now, I know what you're thinking. I don't want to lecture on my brain, but it doesn't have to be like that. You can go ahead and get back up from your chair if you need some space while we talk about these things, but don't worry, because today, we're just going to focus on the one thing that matters most: how do you use them? By the way, I've already started. People are complicated, but nobody knows it better than you. That's because your mind is what makes you who you are. It also determines the decisions that you make, and dictates your personality. It controls your entire existence. The human mind is something that we don't understand fully. We spend our lives trying to achieve things, explore the world around us, and try to do better in life than before. However, many people forget one important thing. They forget that improving the mind is just as important as improving our external appearance. You can have a nice sleek car, an amazing house, and the perfect wardrobe, but if your mind isn't healthy, you aren't truly happy. That's where philosophy comes in. A healthy philosophy towards life will leave you feeling fulfilled every day. As humans, we are driven by many different impulses, and our mind is what allows these to manifest as actions, thoughts, and feelings. These three components of the mind, the ego, superego, and ID, make up one's whole personality. But how do they work? How can you control these impulses that drive you to do what you do every day? Well, the answer lies in understanding your mind and mastering it, so it serves you instead of controlling you. To truly master your mind, you have to observe yourself, your thoughts, and the choices that you make. You have to take into account every decision that you made, and try to understand why it was made. This process will help you to recognize your impulses, and also recognize which of them should be allowed, and which shouldn't. Sigmund Freud is famous for his theory on the three components of the human mind. He called them the ID, the ego, and the superego, which he regarded as three different instances of oneself, or, more precisely, three different layers that make up our consciousness. Freud explained that these three layers are always in conflict with each other, due to their contradictory desires and needs. However, they also rely on each other for survival. This is because, if one of them fails, the others have to compensate for this mistake, and work even harder, so the individual still achieves what she or he wants in the end. Let's discuss their roles in more detail. Kathy, are you there?
Yes, but of course, first, there is the ego. The ego is that part of our mind that tries to balance all three components. According to Freud, it functions as a moderator between the demands of the ID and the needs of the superego. The ego processes all information that we receive from reality, and does its best to satisfy our basic needs. It tries to resolve conflicts between these two components, and in most cases, sways towards satisfying both sides almost equally, or at least making them both happy enough. In this way, it can achieve a healthy state of mind. The ego is your consciousness, and it works as an interface between the unconscious drives of the ID and the moral standards of the superego. As it is in touch with reality, it has to satisfy not only your ID's desires, but also the moral standards of society. Secondly, there is the superego. The superego is your moral component, and it is in charge of all your conscious thoughts and feelings that you experience on a daily basis. They come from societal norms and values, and help you develop as a person, and to grow into a responsible and well-mannered individual. However, it can be too critical towards your ID's desires, and not allow you to experience them at all. That's why it has to be balanced with the ego, which tries to satisfy its demands, without denying any part of your ID's impulses. Third, there is the ID. The ID is the unconscious component of your mind. It operates on the pleasure principle, and it is also in charge of your basic needs, such as food, water, shelter, and sex. If it isn't satisfied, it tries to steer you through all kinds of desires and cravings, which for most people are often not appropriate in reality. However, if it is satisfied, it leaves you in peace for some time, until it demands more pleasure.
You can see that in each of these statements, the ego is represented by I, the superego is represented by should, and the id is represented by want. The ego can be thought of as the real you. It is your identity and personality, which includes habits, thoughts, values and emotions. For example, if someone said, "I love cake," this would be part of their ego. Superego, similar to the mind or conscience, that tells us what is right and wrong, the superego is your moral compass. It shows you what your values are, guiding how you should behave in certain situations. For example, if someone said, "I really shouldn't be eating cake," this would be part of their superego. The ID consists of your primal urges and impulses. One example of this is sexual desires. For example, if someone said, "I really want to eat cake right now," this would be part of their id. Therefore, you have to put in a lot of effort into finding a balance between them all. Only then can you live peacefully with yourself, and explore the world freely, without being constantly held back by your own mind. You will be able to address your ID's desires in a healthy way, free from guilt or shame for acting on them. You will also be able to pursue your desires in a responsible manner, without hurting anyone else or damaging society. You will be able to satisfy your subconscious needs, by addressing them in a healthy way, without letting them control you. One should now have a foundation for further knowledge about the three components of the ego, superego, and id, and should be able to use their own senses to further develop oneself through the understanding of these three components. In the next video in this series, we will be discussing that of the conscious and subconscious.
Please keep in mind that each time you watch a video in this series, your conscious level is rising. You are becoming the Meek. You can also follow our channel for more videos like these. #The Great Meek Awakening. Make everyone enriched and kept. Like and subscribe to support the channel. We are the Meek.